Holy. Holy. All right. I have just seen one of the craziest things of this entire Lil Durk trial. Okay, we're finally getting some inside information. We're finally seeing some of what the state is putting forward. And this is bad. The thumbnail ain't no clickbait, man. This is bad. I can't believe what I'm seeing here, okay? This has just popped up. Okay, I just did my last update on the Lil Durk situation, how they're filing motions. They're saying to the state, yo, like, how can you prove that he was telling people to slide? Like, you can't, what did Durk even do? Like, what did he put up? Like, what was he offering in exchange for this murder for hire? Well, now they're alleging, I can't even believe that I'm saying this, people. Look at this. They're alleging the feds are going to say, they're going to introduce testimony from a witness alleging that Lil Durk wanted OTF Didi and Booney Mo to kill O-Block members because they weren't retaliating for Von. This is some of the most damning stuff that we've seen. And look, I said it, all right? I said it. I said, look, when the feds start popping out with all the stuff that they've got on Durk, he's rapping about, I'm going to delete my iCloud, all of that stuff. This is what we're going to find out. We're finally actually getting some information. We're finally getting some crazy paperwork. We're finding out some of these secret conversations that were going on behind the scenes. If this stuff is true, Durk's going to be cooked, and there's going to be a lot more of it, man. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, okay? So I've got the full paperwork, all right? I'll break down the full paperwork, but this is just what we're seeing on Chicago Hits right now, okay? This is, they're basically saying OTF Didi's lawyer is throwing Durk under the bus and trying to get the case severed for Didi. Now, there's already been rumors, there's been speculation about whether Didi might be cooperating, trying to get a deal, trying to take a plea, whether that's a cooperation plea or just trying to plea out to get a more favorable outcome than taking it to trial and losing, which it looks like Durk might well be lining himself up to do, okay? But this says, okay, DeAndre Wilson, which is OTF Didi, okay, they're moving for an order severing his trial from this trial, the trial of co-defendant Durk Banks and anyone else, okay? They're saying the motion is made pursuant to a federal rule on criminal procedure 14 on the ground a joint trial will cause compelling and incurable prejudice to Mr. Wilson as a result of prejudicial spillover from extensive other acts, evidence noticed by the government that will overwhelmingly concern Mr. Banks and other alleged actors and would not be admissible against Mr. Wilson if he tried alone. So he's saying, yo, Durk was over there with the members wiling out, doing crazy stuff. I need to be separated from that. That don't necessarily mean he wants to be separated for snitching, but he's basically saying, I want to be separated from that because when this jury sees the evidence of what Lil Durk and these guys were doing behind the scenes for Slide for Von, I'm cooked. So we need to separate this, man. Look how crazy this is, okay? I've got the full paperwork, but I'll just break down what's here because this is obviously some of the most important stuff that they've picked out. This is wild. Mr. Banks, to an alleged bounty for the killing of Mack, Mr. Wilson is not identified in connection with the incident. Oh, my God. Mana Duke's in here. No. I can't even believe I'm gonna tell you some stuff after I'm done reading this. It's gonna blow your mind, okay? April 2023, text chain, Mana Duke feud. The notice claims a group text between defendant Banks and OTF members, including defendant DeAndre Wilson, DD, Antonio Jones, aka Booney Mo. Ooh, we're gonna have a Booney Mo update for you guys too. And PW1 reflected Mr. Banks' frustration that O-Block were not properly retaliating for King Von's death. In the thread, Mr. Banks, not Mr. Wilson, declared, I'm finna pipe it up. Booney Mo responded with, blood, it's green. Emoji of a car and a green light. All right, coded messages. We talked about coded messages in the last video. That green light, got location, go. Green light, go. Like them lyrics. Yeah, you can throw them lyrics out at trial. Yeah, we can throw them lyrics out. But you want a text, posting a green light emoji. Cooked, man. Cooked. Booney Mo responded with blood, it's green. Emoji of a car and a green light. Getting stuff together now. No phones. No phones. Apart from this phone I'm texting you on now. Apart from that phone, no phones. The government expects PW1 to testify, so they got an informant about purported follow-up plans involving others. Significantly, the government attributes no statement to Mr. Wilson in this exchange. So Didi's trying to say, yo, I'm in the group chat. I ain't even say it. I hear no evil, see no evil. I'm out here, man. No green light emojis on me. They're saying his presence is merely noted as being on the text chain. There is no claim that Mr. Wilson agreed with, endorsed, or acted on Mr. Banks' statement. April 2023, Instagram chain. Another text chain between Defendant Banks, Defendant Wilson, Booney Mo, and Devonshea Collier. THF Bezu, gang. That's THF Bezu. I just did the video about it. Ah, man. Nah, this is crazy. Allegedly shows Mr. Banks forwarding an Instagram message that he sent to rival Richard Ramsey, stating, "I got them hunting you up. Ads better have 3 ski masks on." Mr. Wilson is not alleged to be the author of the threatening statement. His name appears only as a participant listed on the chain. The notice does not claim that Mr. Wilson commented on, endorsed, or even responded to Durk's message. He's saying, they're wiling out so much in that group chat, I need to have my case severed because I didn't reply. I ain't part of that group chat. I left that. I didn't even see those messages. That's the way he's going, man. It says April 2023, Booney Mo audio, a voice note allegedly conveying Mr. Banks' instructions regarding money and sliders. They're calling it getaway cars. Mr. Wilson is not identified and there's no evidence he received the audio message. Lyrics. The notice cites multiple lyrics by Durk, including "Aha," "Smirk," "Slide, slide, slide," "Don't respond to with Von." They drop in locations, "I'm getting it done." Rumors. "I don't want no dudes who you catch, I want the one I paid for." And "Scoom his ass." Bounty hunter. He ready to crack that Lil B down to get her off. That last one, I'm not sure if I'm buying that one. These statements are attributed solely to Mr. Banks. And then, is this the same stuff, or is this is a more detailed explanation because it's identifying Devonshea Collier as Zoo. So this says evidence that Defendant Banks and others involved in the murder of Sever Robinson, who's Lil Pab, Quando Rondo's cousin, sought to exact revenge on another rival of Defendant Banks at Defendant Banks' direction. Specifically, in April 2023, text messages by and between Defendant Banks and OTF members, including Defendant DeAndre Wilson, Antonio Jones, aka Booney Mo, and PW1, likely an informant at this stage, show Defendant Banks' feud with O-Block member Munna Duke. Over Defendant Banks' belief that O-Block members were not properly retaliating for Bennett's death. In the thread, Defendant Banks states, "I'm finna pipe it up," to which Booney Mo responds, "Blood, it's green," emoji of a car, green light, getting shit together now with no phones. Okay, so they've got the media. They're saying, see the media, iPhone 13 tags, they got the media in there. Okay, so look. When everybody said the feds ain't got nothing, they ain't got nothing on Durk, man. They ain't got nothing on Durk. He was just there. What have they got on Durk? Oh, they've just got one message where he says, "Hey, don't book nothing on my card." It's cat, man. They got that green light emoji, man. So they're saying, get that together as set forth and cooperate a discovery produced to you. So somebody's cooperating. It sounds like one of the cooperators in that group chat. So Durk probably knows who that person is, but we don't know at this stage. Okay. As set forth in Cooperate a Discovery produced to you, the government expects PW1 will testify that in response to Defendant Banks' direction to exact revenge on O-Block members, PW1 and Booney Mo purchased a vehicle with funds from Defendant Banks Lil Durk to travel to O-Block and kill whatever O-Block members they could find. Wow. PW1 is also expected to testify that PW1 would have been expected to be paid by Defendant Banks Lil Durk for anyone the conspirators killed. Man, but the conspirators did not go through with the plan because of the police presence in O-Block. It says 3, evidence that Defendant Banks and other OTF members involved in the murder of Sever Robinson, which is Lil Pab, discussed violence against another rival of Defendant Banks at Defendant Banks' direction. Specifically, an April 2023 text message between Defendant Banks, Defendant Wilson, Booney Mo, and Devonshea Collier, aka Zoo, wherein Defendant Banks sent a screenshot of an Instagram message that he sent to Richard Ramsey, aka Richo Lamron 300, that says, "I got them hunting you up. Ads better have 3 ski masks on." This is absolutely wild. I've heard a lot of talk behind the scenes that there was actually, a real civil war brewing in O-Block. O-Block is a crew that's legendary for their affiliation with King Von. But I've heard it from people, and I've seen it on Reddit. I've seen all talk that O-Block, as time went on, there was a civil war brewing in O-Block. You had the younger generation, the older generation. Then you got Lil Durk's crew. Then you got Front Street, who was, Chief Keef crew back in the day. They ended up going to war with O-Block. Chief Keef's house got robbed. There's all these rumors of who did what. The murder of Chief Keef's manager, Blood Money. There's a lot of crazy backstory as far as why all these guys don't actually get along with O-Block. Come to find out that allegedly Lil Durk was actually mad that O-Block wasn't sliding and that they were having a feud with Duke. And if you remember, Duke ended up losing his life very recently. If you remember this, right? I did a whole video on the Duke situation, and it's still a mystery as to exactly who was involved. But it says alleged O-Block gang leader among 2 killed in Edgewater shooting. Rashawn Duke Vance was slain early Saturday, was an associate of superstar rapper Davon King Von Bennett. Also killed was Darrell Givens. 36-year-old man was hospitalized in fair condition. So I've got the full paperwork here, and it's going to give us a little bit more backstory. It basically has him explaining how, the evidence of the alleged acts are supported by competent evidence. They're admissible against anyone in the case. Mr. Wilson will join defendant Durk Banks in a motion to exclude the government's evidence and fully expects the court to exclude the highly inflammatory evidence. But if the court were to allow the government to introduce this evidence, severance is the only way to protect Dede his right to a fair trial. They're saying the government notice sets forth extensive other acts, evidence almost entirely directed at co-defendant Banks, allegations of violent retaliation, murder plots, paid bounties, and directives to hunt rivals spanning multiple jurisdictions and years. Don't sleep on this. They're going back years. They're going through Lil Durk's iCloud. They're going through his private messages, group chats, voice notes, all that talk of Lil Durk. Yeah, delete my iCloud because the feds are on me. That don't do nothing, bro. That don't do nothing. There's subpoena in that. They got that for years, all right? Multiple jurisdictions, that's beyond Chicago, and years. They're going to be going all the way back. They're probably looking at the messages that Durk was sending to King Von, all right? By contrast, Mr. Wilson appears, if at all, only peripherally included in 2 text threads reflecting general chatter around Mr. Banks' alleged feud and threats. He's saying, bro, you need to get me out of here. You need to let me cut out of this. I don't want to have no parts in them group chats. I need a separate trial. I was not arranging for the slide-in. So he wants severance, but who knows if they'll actually grant that to him. Oh my God, I've just seen something crazy. Oh man, I can't even believe that. No way. They're tying up the other attempts on Quando's life into this, man. So look, if you've seen my documentary and all of my coverage of the whole Quando Rondo back and forth, you'll know that there have been numerous attempts on Quando's life. And they're putting that into the case. Look at this. This is actually, I can't even believe what I'm seeing. I'm looking at this for the first time while I'm recording this. The notice, all right, this is going to break down all the evidence related to Banks' rivalry with Taekwon Bowman, who is Quando Rondo. The notice first describes evidence of Mr. Banks' alleged efforts to exact revenge against Quando Rondo following the 2020 killing of Davon Bennett, aka King Von. According to the government, they intend to introduce surveillance footage and witness testimony related to the murder. It's not a murder, it was a lawful killing, self-defense, of Bennett in Atlanta, Georgia on November the 6th, 2020. Surveillance footage and witness testimony related to the attempted murder of Quando Rondo in Blackshear, Georgia on May the 2nd, 2021. You all said it was cap, man. You all said it was cap when I used to bring this up, man. I done brought this situation up so many times, and everybody said that's cap. That ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. Told you guys, man. I'm going to pull it up. This was the original article, man, and I've covered this extensively. Look, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you'll know that I'm on this, man. I'm paying attention to what's going on, man. This was all the way back in 2021. Quando Rondo, he had a show in Georgia, okay, and they literally stalked him from the show to a gas station, another gas station, okay, and they tried to shoot him. I heard that they were saying that 100 gunshots were heard at this point, okay? He and his entourage were caught in a hail of gunfire at a convenience store in Georgia, and one of his entourage was wounded, okay? There's always been rumors about who that was. Some people said it might have been Lil Tim. Unknown, okay? Shots rang out at 3:20 a.m. in Blackshear. Quando and his crew were in a parking lot off the highway. Cops believe the shooter opened fire from across the road, okay? This was after he played that show that was the empty show. Everyone said, yeah, he got no motion, okay? After the King Von thing, they're scared to book him. But he did play that show. He rocked out on stage, and they came and tried to get him afterwards, man. This was that famous situation, all right? The show was empty. They were clowning Quando for having an empty venue. You know what I mean? He was on stage rocking out, barely anybody there. Were they not there because he had no motion, or were they not there because they're scared of being there? Because they really tried to kill him just 10 minutes from the nightclub where it all went down. And there was footage from afterwards too. All right, so if you remember this, man, I did a whole documentary called Demon Slayers, America's Most Wanted Gangsters. And it was all about what Lil Durk is facing now in court. It was all about this massive effort to slide for Von, to try and get Quando everywhere he went. And people said it's cap, people say it was unrelated, man, but now we're seeing it in that indictment, man. But look, they really were stalking him. How crazy is this? Close to half a year since that fateful night when King Von lost his life trying to fight Quando Rondo. The moment Quando's close friend Lil Tim pulled the trigger, he set into motion a chain of events that would change their lives forever, with King Von being one of Chicago drill's most feared killers, as well as a popular rapper. This meant that Quando Rondo, Lil Tim, and everyone around them would have to defend against wave after wave of assassination attempts, all seemingly connected to the slain Chicago rapper. On April the 16th, 2021, Quando Rondo denied being shot at and told the world that he rides in a bulletproof truck. That same month, Quando's latest concert is announced on May the 1st, 2021 in Waycross, Georgia. After having his previous shows that were scheduled just weeks after Von's death cancelled, Quando was eager to show his fans, ops, and the world at large that he could travel the country and perform without incident. However, unfortunately for Quando, that simply wasn't true. On May the 1st, 2021, Quando Rondo placed the very show that he was booked to perform at in Waycross, Georgia. And here he's seen playing to an empty venue, complaining to the crowd that his shows are usually bigger than this, with Quando addressing the fans and still thanking them for coming out despite the low turnout.
I ain't gonna lie, man, my show is really big, you feel me? Deeper than this, but I know I got a lot of going on, you feel me? But I still appreciate everybody who came out. I'm gonna walk this bitch out like it's 10,000 people in here. Come on, shit.
When these images and clips surfaced, Chicago affiliates of Von and Durk, like Mimo 600, would mock Quando, saying that he must have made a loss on that show. But as the night went on, that show's turnout would be the least of Quando's worries, as him and his entourage would leave the venue after performing, driving to a Circle K gas station just 11 minutes away in the next town of Blackshear. At around 3:20 AM after that show, Quando and his team would be in the parking lot of a gas station convenience store in Blackshear, Georgia. Soon after arriving, somebody began to open fire from across the road, with one man allegedly being hit in the hand and ending up in the hospital. Quando Rondo would flee the scene before authorities arrived. According to one report, over 100 bullets were fired at Quando's entourage during this incident. However, members of the public would arrive to the crime scene, beginning to film and posting the footage on social media, with the woman filming telling viewers that she was on the scene of the Quando shooting and saying that people had heard the gunshots from all the way down the street. And she would even walk right up to bullet markers where the shell casings had apparently been fired from all the way up the street.
Oh my God, it is Quando, y'all. It's got to be. They talking about it was the rapper that performed at the Vibe at the club. They talking about it was Quando. They heard it was somebody had a bounty on him. I'm like, damn, how the f you know? Look at all them bullets. Yeah, they got them picking up bullets.
So look, look, I'm going to gas myself up a little bit. This is how you know that I be digging deeper into these situations than everybody else, okay? And ain't nobody else be analyzing the footage from outside. The woman is outside saying, I heard there was a bounty on Quando. All of this was going on, okay? And it was just, I don't want to say the wrong thing when it comes to the legal side of things, but like, to an outsider, this appeared to be the Slide for Von campaign in action, okay? This appeared to be Slide for Von playing out in real life. Okay, and you had all people dissing, all right, afterwards. You had Lil Durk dropping lyrics seemingly referencing the incident. And now we're seeing it's all in that indictment. I'll play a little bit more of this and I'll go back to the indictment because, bruh, I don't even know what else is going to come up, man. There might even be more stuff that we've covered. It was unclear who exactly was responsible for the shooting. Quando's ops from Savannah, the gang S8K, or the Section 8 kids, would post seemingly referencing the incident, with a caption saying Get Back Gang, which, if you didn't know, is actually another name for King Von's gang, along with audio from Lil Durk's song Hellcats and Trackhawks, that earlier song where Durk says that he's looking to catch somebody lacking at their show. Now, it's unclear whether S8K members were taking direct responsibility for the incident, or simply celebrating a hit sent from Lil Durk or Von's crew, Get Back Gang. However, a black disciple from Georgia seemingly claimed responsibility for this hit on social media, leading people to believe once again that this was a hit affiliated with Lil Durk, naturally due to his extensive affiliations with the Black Disciples street gang, of which King Von was indeed a prominent member. Lil Pab also tweeted after this incident, brushing off the shooting and telling his ops to enjoy life and not let one person stress them out so much, and going on to post a picture of himself alive and well the following day. Quando would seemingly address the threats against his life in a later interview, also brushing off the danger and saying that he doesn't care about death threats because he's always armed.
Death threat all you want to, man, bro. That's just some words, man. Do be an action.
Right.
You feel me? I'm going home to my daughter.
Right.
And if I didn't, God called me.
Right.
But I'm going home to my daughter, bro. I'm not even the type of person to move without a firearm.
Rumors would later circulate that Lil Tim was also injured in this shooting. Now, whether or not that's true, it was clear that Lil Tim suffered a serious injury, being shot numerous times during the altercation with King Von. A couple of months after that shooting at the gas station, in August 2021, Lil Tim would post a sobering picture to Instagram, revealing that due to his gunshot wounds, he's having to use a colostomy bag, but still giving thanks for the fact he's still alive. It's unclear whether or not this injury was from the Waycross shooting, the shootout with King Von, or even a previous shootout in Savannah. But regardless, it was clear that Quando and Lil Tim were continuing to pay the price for this beef with King Von. But that So look, they're wrapping this up in the indictment, man. They're putting this across. They're saying surveillance footage and witness testimony. Don't sleep on this, all right? No doubt that there was surveillance footage at that gas station that we still haven't seen. And they're saying a witness testimony related to the attempted murder of Bowman in Blackshear. Now, that's there for a reason. If that was just some random thing that didn't have nothing to do with Lil Durk, the feds wouldn't be using that, okay? That is actually huge, okay? They're saying they're also focusing on Mr. Banks' lyrics and statements, such as his line in Who Wants Smoke. They be on my page like slide for Von. I know they trolling me. And his interview remark, for some reason, I just don't see them comments no more. We hear, though, we different in Iraq. And social media comments directed at Mr. Banks urging him to slide for Von. None of these allegations identify Mr. Wilson. But hey, we didn't even know those were part of the trial until Didi filed this. Okay, so that's crazy. And I can already see there's some stuff coming up about Stefon Mack. Oh, man, I'm not even ready. I'm floored by this, honestly. I'm floored by this. But the fact that they're bringing that Quando Rondo shooting, that they're bringing this into the trial, this is not good for Lil Durk. This is bad, okay? All these little things that everyone thought they were getting away with, state to state, city to city, it's over with. It's all in there, man. And then we're going to get to the Stefon Mack situation. I'll update you on that one too, because I did a whole video about that. And you all want to call it cap and say that this ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But here it is, man. So part B, they're saying evidence related to Banks directing or ordering violence. The second category consists of a wide-ranging set of allegations claiming that Mr. Banks placed bounties or otherwise directed violence. Again, Mr. Banks is central to the government's allegations. Mr. Wilson's name, Didi, surfaces in only 2 text chains, and in each instance, he is just a participant, not the originator of any statement. Okay? Stefon Mack bounty. They were saying they wasn't going to combine this. They were saying that they was using this separate case and the rumors that Durk was involved to refuse Lil Durk a bail. But it sounds like this is actually potentially being brought up in the trial. Stefon Mack bounty. The notice states the government will introduce text messages, surveillance footage, and forensic evidence linking Lil Durk to the alleged bounty for killing Mack. Okay, and again, they're saying Mr. Wilson is not identified in connection with this incident. Now, let me refresh your memory on that one because I did a whole video about it. So 9 months ago, I did this video, The Many Murders of Lil Durk. Okay, and in this video, I broke down how Lil Durk's name has been associated with 6 murders. Okay, not just one. All right, his name got dragged into the FBG Duck situation, the FBG Cash situation, the murder of this guy, Stefon Mack, as well as Lil Pab, who was Quando Rondo's cousin, but also these 2 other guys, J-Ski and Oil, and I haven't seen them be brought into this situation yet. But there's lyrics and there's things that seem to suggest that Lil Durk's name is associated with that incident. But when it comes to Stefon Mack, as it's being brought up, and it sounds like the feds are going to use this against him, that's another bad look. Let's take a look at what I said about that. So the situation with Stefon Mack, obviously you've got this whole thing slide for Von. That's why they were trying to kill Quando Rondo city to city. But Lil Durk's brother D-Thang also ended up losing his life in a long-running beef in the city of Chicago. I won't recap the whole murder of D-Thang. You can go and watch this video and you can go and see some of the backstory about that if you wanna know exactly why this happened. But essentially, it's believed that this murder for D-Thang, all right, this murder of D-Thang led to retaliation, and Stefon Mack is one of the names. So look, let me refresh your memory on what I said about
not
that.
feel happy until he gets back for his bro. Something that seems to say a lot about his mindset at the time. Durk would then even directly reference the shootout that happened in his home, which makes me think he's letting us know that this was indeed connected to those cases. However, so far, Durk's rumored hints about the alleged get back for his brother had been relatively vague compared to the self-snitching extraordinaires of modern-day drill music like Lil Jeff and Q50. But on the 27th of January 2022, the plot would thicken considerably as 24-year-old Stefon Mack was killed after leaving a youth peace center in the Roseland neighborhood, located in the far south side of Chicago. Before the tragedy would strike, Stefon, who was also known as Youngin, was visiting the youth center where he was reportedly an active participant. Meanwhile, a black Chrysler would enter the center's parking lot with 2 men waiting inside the vehicle for about 40 minutes, seemingly waiting for Stefon to exit the center. Then, around 3 p.m., when Stefon would step outside and begin to walk towards his car, 2 masked men would exit the Chrysler and begin shooting at him, with Stefon attempting to flee by running in the opposite direction. One of the shooters, armed with a Ruger AR-556 semi-automatic rifle, would chase Stefon across the parking lot before shooting him from a distance, which would cause Stefon to collapse on the ground near train tracks, where the shooter would run up to him and finish the job. Shortly after, the youth center's security guard would step outside to find out what was causing the noise, which would prompt the second assailant to shoot him in the leg with a handgun. The shooters would then abandon the Chrysler in the parking lot and escape on foot. The security cameras capturing one of the assailants with a heavy build running away from the scene. And later that day, police would recover the Ruger AR rifle from the backyard of a vacant residence located nearby. Sometime after Stefon's murder, Durk and an OTF member called Chug would once again make suggestive posts on their Instagram stories, both using the caption "For D-Thang," with Durk also using the name of his recent song, Aha, which at this point hadn't even been released yet, while Chug would refer to something being a sad case. Not long after, at the beginning of February, one chirologists would would post these stories to Reddit, whilst also linking them to the murder of Stefon, who the poster claimed to be a member of the set Smashville 85th, whilst also allegedly having connections with the so-called Melly that's named in honor of 051 Melly, with some even claiming that Stefon was in fact Melly's cousin. Smashville is located around 85th Street in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood in the far south side of the city, far away from the childhood stomping grounds of D-Thang and Durk in Inglewood. However, the set is affiliated with the Dump Street, aka Gutter Gang, from West Inglewood, who have been rumored to be behind D-Thang's murder. There weren't initially many theories about who were the two people behind the murder, but unbeknownst to the public at the time, the alleged killers were making sneaky references to their crimes on social media. For example, on the 15th of February, a man called Mike City AJ would post on his Facebook how his set had been spanking their ops so much that they're about to give up. As his name indicates, Mike City AJ has ties to a set called Mike City, or Mike Block, also known as Gator Gang, a BD set located on 86th and Morgan, which is named in honor of their fallen member Mike, who was killed in 2012. Lamron and Taytown have seemingly been affiliated with Mike City for at least a decade at this point, and AJ himself has clearly been close with Taytown members on social media for a while, even seemingly appearing in a March 2021 music video of TTE Day Day, who's one of Durk's oldest friends from Taytown. A YouTuber called Kenny Rogers, who claims to be from the same neighborhood, would open up about AJ's childhood and reputation in the streets, telling how AJ and other young'uns from Mike City were like sicarios, a private army for hire with a feared reputation, who would eventually get affiliated with OTF members such as Booney Mo.
Watch the and did we did. You know, but AJ, they decided like they like scenarios, but well, I say scenario, sicarios. You know what I'm talking about, like a private army for hire. You know what I'm saying? Now we warned them about that because when the guys came out there trying to connect and all that, like, no, we've been holding our own. What's like we know what y'all own. Y'all ain't finna use them. But you know, the younger guys got into too many. You know, they wanted to make a name for themselves. They wanted to hang around because of their name and shit like that. But we were telling them, y'all bigger than them. Real talk. But AJ, yeah, they was feared.
So don't sleep on this, man. They're saying that these guys were guns for hire, and Lil Durk's locked up for murder for hire. They're saying that these guys were feared shooters for hire. Okay, you can hire them to kill anyone that you wanted to, and allegedly they was tapped in with Lil Durk's crew, and things were getting done. And Durk was posting aha after these murders happened. Man, it's crazy.
And you can hire them to kill your cat if you wanted to, and not having somebody have your paperwork on the internet. And now you being affiliated with Booney Mo and OTF and all that other shit. And you know, doing that to allegedly Stefon Mack, 051 cousin.
Indeed, on the 21st of February, less than a month after Stefon Mack's murder, Durk would drop his music video for the song Aha, which was filmed in Chicago. Later on, online detectives would notice that in one of the Instagram stories posted by people who were at the video shoot, you can see someone who looks a lot like Mike City AJ, showing that he was indeed possibly connected all the way to the very top of the OTF hierarchy. But what people would also notice were the rather revealing lyrics that Durk was dropping in the song. First, he would begin with a disclaimer saying how everything he's about to say is just entertainment and not real. Durk then mentions how his shooters have been sliding through their ops block, but the ops don't even know it, and that someone from the ops side got shot, and while Durk didn't claim it, he can show them proof. Durk would then seemingly be done with beating around the bush, as he would explicitly state how he's been heavy on the downers since D-Thang got killed, but they already got back for him, and that their ops know it, but they don't post on social media so the police don't find out. Durk would then seemingly change his mind about this all being just entertainment, as he would swear on his brother's life that everything he's speaking is facts and not just a diss. Durk would then end his first verse by saying how people might say that he's just a singer, so he won't kill anyone, he doesn't care what they think, because he got their friend shot. The hook of the song would even acknowledge that Durk's activities will put him in jail, rapping he's dropping locations and getting revenge, and that the feds will soon come. It seems that Durk was sending a lot of messages with this song, but likely, only the people involved in these Chicago gang wars would truly understand. But what he was clearly putting out there for the whole world to see was that his brother D-Thang's death was still weighing heavily on his mind, and that for him, this in fact was not just entertainment. Meanwhile, in May 2022, a rapper from the Dump Street or Gutter Gang called GG Juju would release his song titled Don't Be a Fool, where he would seemingly diss D-Thang by rapping how he will not be searched when going to a club, before mentioning how that is how a fool got killed, and saying that if people mention Gutter Gang, they're going to end up on the news. Juju would also seemingly diss Durk, saying how some people were always acting too tough on their songs and always rapping about switches and drakes, but that they got them too. This likely being a reference to Durk literally having a song titled Switches and Drakes. After this, some time would pass, but on the 6th of June 2022, exactly 1 year after D-Thang's passing, Durk would make another cryptic post on his Instagram story quoting lyrics about someone getting hit and how certain people are only known in the city because of their friends who got killed. But instead of signing the post with his usual moniker, The Voice, he would sign it this time as The Pump, which some internet sleuths would believe to be yet another sign that Durk was making a reference to the murders of J-Ski and Oil taking place at a gas station pump. Meanwhile, Durk's friend and OTF member Booney Mo would post a much clearer message simply stating F the dump, this seeming like a rather obvious reference to the Dump Street set. The following month,
And now Booney Mo's all over this paperwork, man. All the self-snitching man comes back to get you. Now you're all over this paperwork.
In July, Durk and the rapper Lil Osama released the song F My Cousin Part 2, and this time, Durk wouldn't hold back one bit, rapping a direct threat to his ops that if they were even at the scene when his brother was killed, they're going to die too, before mentioning specifically his ops from the west, with Dump Street being located directly to the west of Taytown and Lamron, saying how 2 of their members died immediately after D-Thang's death. At this point, it seemed obvious that if Durk wasn't directly claiming the hit of J-Ski and Oil, he was at least dissing them openly. And then, in December, Booney Mo would release his single titled For Real, together with a lavish music video that was posted on Durk's YouTube channel. In the song, Booney would repeat Durk's bar about 2 people dying the next day, whilst also seemingly referring to the shooting that killed D-Thang as fluky, which some believe supports the idea that D-Thang might not have even been killed on purpose and was in fact simply hit by a ricocheting bullet. This theory also being supported by the news report about the shooting, with the police describing how D-Thang was simply caught amongst a barrage of bullets. In April 2023, On A Couch TV would post a hood vlog with none other than Dump Street. But interestingly, they were also joined by the rapper 85th Lil Smoke, who just so happens to be from Smashville, the very hood where Stefon was allegedly from, showing that these sets were indeed very close with each other. In the comments of the video, one viewer would ask On A Couch TV to ask him about D-Thang, but he would reply calling that viewer federal before saying that he knew that they wouldn't answer questions about that anyway. But still, On A Couch would seize the moment and ask them about Durk, inquiring whether they considered Durk to be the voice of Chicago, which would surprisingly receive a rather cordial response from the crew, who say he's a good rapper, but he's not the voice of the streets, and that he can't stop the gang war.
So how y'all feel about Durk basically taking the title as the voice of the Chicago, like what he say was go on in the trenches?
No, see what you mean.
He can rap.
He can rap. But voice of one trenches ain't nobody run. Nobody run nothing. Listen, bro.
He a good rapper.
You know, he can rap. He can sing. Voice, he rap probably his side of town.
So look, right, they interviewed all the guys that were involved, but really what happened is when this paperwork dropped, they were basically saying that Lil Durk might have had something to do with this. Check this out.
But things were about to get a lot more interesting, because in October 2023, Mike City AJ, real name Anthony Montgomery Wilson, together with another man called Marley, real name Preston Powell, would be charged with the murder of Stefon Mack. But this was no ordinary state charge. This was a federal charge. And this was no typical murder charge either. This was a murder for hire. Yes, murder for hire in 2023. As the feds would allege that AJ and Marley had been in contact with someone in another state who had promised them a reward for the murder of Stefon. Following these charges, AJ would be arrested and taken into custody, but Marley would seemingly make a run for it, with FBI releasing a wanted poster for him and even local news reporting on his attempt to avoid the law. At the time, it was already clear that the feds were holding any information regarding this case close to their chest, as the file docket for the case is full of sealed documents. But the reason for this would be revealed in December 2024, as the feds would suddenly unseal more documents related to the case in the lead up to Durk's detention hearing in the Lil Pab case, including an application for a search warrant in Texas, and more importantly, an affidavit in support of that application. This affidavit, which dates all the way back to April 2023, would reveal explosive information that the feds were indeed investigating Lil Durk's connection to the murder of Stefon Mack. The affidavit would provide numerous interesting details about Mack's murder, including the fact that Mike City AJ had done a C-Day and left his phone at the crime scene, and that while at the crime scene he had also been calling Marley by name. While after the murder, the two had been openly discussing their upcoming payment from Lil Durk, and after seemingly receiving the payment, AJ had been bragging about it and claiming the hit on social media by posting himself with a big stack of cash together with the lyrics from Lil Durk's Aha song, with findings like these prompting Chiracologists online to joke how Durk had hired the dumbest assassins on earth to do the job. An employee of the youth center would also allegedly reveal to the feds that the killers had been tipped off about Mack's location by 2 brothers from a set called Risky Road, who seemingly knew Marley, aka Powell, as he lived in their hood at the time of the crime. But the paperwork would also reveal some interesting background information. For example, the feds would claim that Mack was not only affiliated with Smashville, but according to their informant, he was in fact the set's leader. Another informant, on the other hand, would claim that Lil Durk was offering money for the murder of those responsible for his brother's death, and even for the murder of any gangster disciple in general.
Bruh. Lil Durk was moving crazy, okay? Look, I don't want to bore you with more information from this because it's not fully relevant, but I'm just trying to show you, man, this case, this paperwork, this evidence they've got, finished, cooked, all right? They're wrapping him up into that. They're saying Mr. Banks has had an alleged bounty for the killing of Mack, okay? And then we get to this Mono Duke thing. We already explored this, okay? This is the thing with the green light emoji. And then they talk about the conversation with Devon Share Collier, where basically, you know, they said Big Zoo was in there, Booney Mo, you know, we know that we did it. All of that stuff, bro. That's not looking too good now, okay? They were planning to kill a rival called Richard Ramsey. So I'm just skimming through the rest of the paperwork, and it seems like they're kind of bringing up a lot of legal precedent rather than any new evidence or any details about what's going on. And then essentially Didi is just trying to, you know, dispute the relevance of these things being associated with him. It says, if any portion of the voluminous, that means a lot, material was admitted against Mr. Banks, it would be patently unfair that Mr. Wilson Didi would be forced to defend himself before a jury saturated with evidence that by the government's own account has nothing to do with him. Okay, they're saying that it's just a whole bunch of really bad looking stuff against Durk, and he's basically saying, look, if you show the jury all of that stuff and I'm in the group chats, I'm cooked. I need a separate trial. And people are saying he threw Lil Durk under the bus. Like the way that he's talking here, He's kind of putting it on Lil Durk. He ain't denying it. He ain't saying, yo, none of this ever happened. He's saying, yo, all of that shit, all that stuff you got on Durk, that stuff, I don't want to be part of that. You know, that stuff, that bad stuff that looks bad. They're saying that the government sets forth allegations of extreme violence and retaliatory plots solely attributable to Lil Durk. Some people would say that's pointing the finger at Lil Durk, right? But they're basically, you can't really go that far because it's basically just saying, look, the government are saying that he did this. I ain't saying that he did it, but that stuff's crazy. I don't want to be associated with that. And so even then, he's not the speaker of any incriminating statements, nor is there evidence he endorsed or acted on what Lil Durk said. His role is passive and peripheral, merely appearing on a text chain dominated by messages allegedly authored by Mr. Banks. He says here, look, in a joint trial, the jury will be exposed to an avalanche of inflammatory material, accounts of shootings, claims of bounties, and Durk's confessions in lyrics. Against that evidentiary backdrop, Mr. Wilson's mere inclusion in group checks would easily blurred into guilt by association. That is precisely the danger the courts warn against. He's saying that, look, I just can't be part of this, all right? I need to be taken out of this. And then here it says kind of for closing arguments, he's saying forcing Mr. Williams to confront this evidence would allow the government to secure a conviction without satisfying a high burden of proof. According to the operative indictment, Mr. Wilson was not a leader of OTF. He didn't initiate any bounties or make payments. He didn't procure weapons or vehicles or any items associated. He didn't drive any vehicles. He didn't use or possess any firearms. Okay, although the government accuses DD of other acts, such as purportedly recruiting individuals, this information comes from a cooperating witness, and it's inherently suspect information and should be evaluated with greater caution than that of other witnesses. It even says here, if you expose a jury to repeated references of revenge killing, social media, pressure campaigns, and violent lyrics by Durk, then instructing the jury to disregard all of it when looking at DD is a fiction. It's unreasonable to ask jurors to engage in mental gymnastics. To tell the jury to ignore all this proof is to ask the impossible. It's prejudicial. It can't be instructed away. And he's basically saying the only remedy for that is severance. The only way to protect and save DD and his rights would be to separate, okay? Limiting instructions, redacting things, excluding things, it still keeps the central problems that the government are putting across an overarching narrative of violence, retaliation, but Mr. Wilson is not involved in that. It's going to color the jury's perception of him, and he wants to have his situation split apart, okay? And there's exhibits, okay? There's more breakdown. This is kind of just recapping the feud with Quando Rondo and why it all stems from King Von and what was going on with that. And so here it's just a list of all evidence. So we did look at some of this already in the previous Instagram post. But essentially, this is one of the first time we're seeing from the government evidence related to it. Evidence related to Durk, defendant Banks' bounty for the killing of Stefon Mack. Surveillance footage of the shooting. Text messages recovered from Montgomery Wilson's cell phone. Discussing payment from OTF and defendant Banks for murder. We kind of already knew that that was coming from the previous paperwork, but they're also saying there's a Facebook story from Montgomery Wilson showing him holding the money, which I showed you was in the previous video. It's all getting used, and DNA evidence linking him to the shooter's vehicle. Okay, we already talked about these text messages between Booney Mo, the green light emoji, the text messages with Zoo. This is other stuff. We already looked at this thing with the voice note, but then they go on to add even more things that they could potentially use against Durk. Durk's admissions in lyrics about paying for bounties and directing violence. They got Aha, which you know we already knew in there, dropping locations, getting it done. The rumors by Gucci Mane. Scoom his ass with Booney Mo popping out in traffic in Cali, ride through Beverly Hills with choppers, dying to see the oppers. Bounty hunter, you ready to crack that little bitch down to get her off? That kind of isn't relevant, that one. But they're saying that these acts are admissible and show defendant Banks' motive, intent, preparation, planning, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, and lack of an accident. So the feds are saying, yo, we got all of this. And they might even have even more on the way. We might even, they probably have even more, man. They got the whole phone, they got everything, okay? So Reddit, Chiracology is reacting to the news, man. They're saying that OTF's DD's lawyer is throwing Durk under the bus to try and get the case severed. All right, and people are quoting these classic King Von lyrics. I just talked to Didi. He gonna be home, gang. Don't know if that's gonna be the case, man. They're saying, what the F? Durk was talking crazy as hell in their messages. People are saying he's not throwing Durk under the bus. He's just saying that the evidence the feds are presenting don't have his client doing anything illegal. Then they're saying, Cap, he said Durk said that he's seen messages to have all of this info. And there's probably more. Saying a severed case is the last thing the government wants, which is why they fight so hard against it every time. And they're going to keep applying the screws to Didi, and they're probably going to hope that Didi cooperates if they can. Because they're saying, bro, you wasn't really like that. You wasn't really banging OTF like these other guys. You got involved later on. You're part of this. But yeah, this is actually crazy. They're saying if Durk gets snitched on, I'll be surprised, and he actually gets life, I'll be surprised. I still hope he's getting out. People saying, bruh, damn, Zoo got named. No wonder he went ghost, man. These dudes was texting on iMessages, organizing and getting everything in order for hits. Oh my God, how stupid can you be? There's countless encrypted messaging platforms, plenty of money to set up the whole crew shit to be anonymous. Uses voice memos, iMessage, and Instagram. Bro deserves life for being this silly. Okay, 12-year-old script kiddies scamming Roblox currency on Discord have better operational security than these full-grown adults doing hits, man. They're saying Didi getting backdoored the second he comes home. They're saying they got his text messages. It's going to be crazy. Okay, it's not really snitching though. His lawyer's just saying the evidence they got has nothing to do with their client. He just so happened to be in a group chat. He's not making statements against Lil Durk. They're saying, who is Richard Ramsey to be getting personal Durk messages saying we coming to kill you? Saying, damn, Richo be capping, but you know that's Brody Lamron Richo, man. So they're saying he was going after, he was ready to take out the Lamron members too, man. They're saying Durk is overcooked, man. They're saying Rondo number 9 going to be home before Durk, man. Saying not the rumors verse. People saying, I thought there was no way they could overlook that. Fulton County overlooked a lot of incriminating thug lyrics. They're saying Durk is cooked, man. Durk is cooked. This is really bad. This is really bad. I'm honestly shocked. I'm actually in shock. The thing that surprises me most is that they're referencing that attempt on Quando Rondo's life in May 2021. They're including that. It's a wrap, man. You guys really went after him city to city, state to state, until you eventually got his cousin. This whole thing's a mess, man. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some more information about the beef between Lil Durk, the situation with Mana Duke, how that played out, whether there's anything going on there, whether there are any connections. Bruh, this is crazy, all right? So I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm sure there's going to be some new news, new paperwork coming out. Like, that is blown my mind. I'm not going to lie to you. This is blown my mind. So I'll keep you guys updated if anything else happens. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below, man. Is Durk cooked? Is Didi cooked? I don't know if they're going to even let him get this severance, man. It's crazy. But look, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm out.